So we're going to go through ways economic growth is measured, modern economic growth, general supply, demand, and efficiency forces, how productivity growth in Canada has increased since 1973. So economists define and measure economic growth as either an increase in real GDP occurring over some time period, an increase in real GDP per capita occurring over some time period. So I prefer this definition here because it looks at quality of life. So this definition is better for me because it takes into account quality of life and standard of life. Like a higher real GDP per capita means that the country has a higher quality of life. Yeah, like I believe this is more of the real definition. And then for this question, real GDP growth, real GDP in Canada was 1,770.2 billion in 2015 and 1,796.2 billion in 2016. How do you calculate the percent change in growth? This is the same as trillion. So what's the percent change in growth in this case? I'm just going to put that. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that's a pretty close guess. So yeah, it's yeah, you got it. It's actually you were perfect. Good job. So yeah, you good job, Christine. So 1.5%. So you take the 2016 number minus the 2015 number divided by the 2015 number to get times 100. So that's how you do it, and then it's 1.5%. So then economic growth, real GDP per capita equals real GDP divided by population. So example, real GDP in Canada was 1.8014 billion in 2016, and population was 36.3 million. So how would you calculate real GDP per capita in this example? Yes, Camille?
Would it be 1,801.4 billion divided by 36.3 million?
Yes. That's great. Good job. So yeah, like once you do that, so in that case, so 1,000, Kamim got it, and then divide that by the 36.3 million, you get 49,625. So that's yeah, it's very high. This is a very high number. This means that Canada has a very high quality of life. and standard of living. And this is one of the highest in the world. Like US is higher, but Canada is basically second worldwide. So this is a good measure. This is how, like, based on my economics education, like, this is the best measure of how the economy is doing. It's better than just GDP. Doing it per capita is very important because you're looking at like the individual. Yeah. So good question. So you would use in this case, if you're going to write it out, 1,801.4 billion. You'd have to so type it in like this. It's a million, billion, trillion. So this would be how you type that, and then 36.3 million is 36. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay, it happens. Yeah, this would be like, trillion under, then like, yeah, so like that's how you write it out. So like 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion. Yeah. But if you type this into Google as like, well, this, it will be fine. And this, it would be fine. Yeah. So in 2017, real GDP per capita rose to $50,556. So what would be the growth in real GDP per capita during that period? So thanks, Matt. Thanks, Christine. Yeah, thanks for participating. So yeah, it's 1.9%. So you take the 50,556 minus the 49,625, and then you divide it by 49,625, and then you times it by 100 to get 1.9%. So yeah, it's like so like you kind of like, the best thing to think of it is like future minus past divided by past times 100. So like you can apply this formula. So this is kind of my general, like MJ's general growth formula. I think that's the best way to think of it because you can do it for any growth. Like this is how growth is calculated. So like this, so this is how any sort of growth is calculated. So that's a good way of thinking of it because you don't have to memorize the stupid, like, words in the formulas. Like that's how I think of it when I'm doing the calculation. Future minus past divided by past times 100. So like that's the best way of thinking about it. That's how I think about it in my brain. Yeah. So yeah, growth is something that everyone wants. Every economy wants growth. Maybe um yeah. But growth raises standards of living. It like growth in real GDP per capita. And growth lessens the burden of scarcity. So arithmetic of growth is a rule of 70. Approximate number of years required to double real GDP. Use 70 divided by annual percentage rate of growth. For example, a 5% annual rate of growth will double real GDP in about 14 years. So like Canada's is roughly 2% per year. Like so like 2% annual, I'd say about 3% now, 3% annual growth in the Canadian economy. So like 70 divided by 3, that's about 23. So it'll take about 23.33 years to double the Canadian. So like it's at 2 trillion right now. It'll be at like 2 trillion in 2022, then 4 trillion GDP in 2045. So yeah, like once like Hadrian Trudeau is prime minister. So so here, can somebody calculate the growth rate in per capita GDP and population and GDP? You could, like, if you want to do all three, can, or if you want to do one of the three, can. If you want to do two of the three, can. So this is real GDP here. It's real GDP because they took out price changes. The prices are all 2002 prices. So like that's real GDP. Nominal GDP would be use the prices for the different years. So what you would do is, so per capita GDP, you do 256 minus 17,633 divided by 17,633 times 100. That's how you do the growth for that one. And then the growth for the population would be similar. And then the growth for GDP per cap, GDP billions, $2002 would be. So yeah, so it would be this similar. So the problem with economic growth is it doesn't account for improved products and services. So also it doesn't account for the lower hours in work week, which is a problem because that improves our life. How we have less time to work because we can spend more time with our families and stuff and friends. So like that should be included. Also, yeah, environment is not included either. So like since like the work week has reduced from 50 to 35 hours, people can go to art galleries and like see movies and do cultural stuff, which has benefited that industry. Also, people are allowed to like can get education easier, and there's less restriction on like women and minorities. Like they're given a lot more rights now compared to before, because before like in the 60s they weren't given a lot of rights, and now because of all the economic growth that's contributed to a lot of equality. And then politically, there's when a lot of economic growth happens, there's more democracy. So like as the economy grows, there's more democracy. And so growth is different across the world. Like places like China grow very fast in GDP, but their GDP per capita is very low. Places like Canada grow very slow in GDP, but the real GDP is high. So like there's a lot of inconsistency. So like in this case here, so this is a good chart. These countries have very high living standards as a result of high real GDP per capita, democracy. So those are the main reasons why they've very high living standards. But Latin America, Asia, excluding Japan, Africa, they have low real GDP per capita, which contributes to their lower living standards, and they're not democracies mostly. So like high standard of living equals basically democracy plus high real GDP per capita. That's basically my formula for it. That's like it's pretty solid. Like these democracy and high real GDP per capita, they lead to high standard of living most often. Those are the two massively contributing factors. And you kind of see the gap here. That's like you see the gap here, and you know what I'm saying. This gap is pretty much created by difference GDP per capita and democratic values. So you can see that this is a really good chart on showing what GDP per capita and democratic values can do to an economy. So then the leader countries like Canada and the US, they create advanced technologies. And then follower countries like in Africa, they can have access to that technology down the road. Follower countries will grow faster if they take advantage of that advanced technology. Once they use the technology at from these leader countries, they start to grow more. So South Korea, Singapore, and Hong Kong, they've been growing a lot more lately because they've been growing a lot during 1960 to 2010 because they were small economies and they had a lot of room to grow. While places like Japan, Ireland, France, United Kingdom, Canada, US, they were more mature. It's like they grow at lower rates. So these are like developing that grow at higher rates, and then like developed grow at lower rates because they're big and they can't grow very rapidly. So big reasons why growth happens is because there's strong property rights. There's copyright protection on intellectual property like music. They get copyright protections. There's an incentive for them to create because they know that they can make money off of royalties. And then there's patent protections. They know that they can make money off of royalties from patent licensing. Efficient banks, high education, high literacy, free trade, competition. Competition is good for the consumer because the consumer gets low prices, which is they can afford. 6 ingredients of economic growth: supply factors, increase in the quantity and quality of natural resources, increase in the quantity and quality of human resources, increase in supply or stock of capital goods, and improvements in technology. Demand factor. The increase in aggregate demand that brings about the economic growth made possible by an increase in the production potential of the economy. Efficiency factor, the capacity of an economy to combine resources effectively to achieve growth of real output that the supply factors make possible. So this is economic growth where they can produce more consumer and capital goods. Then, so like worker hours, productivity increases, they raise GDP. Average productive labor going up raises GDP. Average output per worker per hour going up raises GDP. Yeah. So all of these things raise GDP. So size of employed labor force, average hours of work, technological advance, quantity of capital, education and training, allocated efficiency, and other, like all of those raise GDP when they go up. So yeah, growth happens through technological advancements. That's the largest way to grow an economy. Quantity of capital, education, and training. So the economy grew by a large amount from 1995 to 2010 because of microchip and information technology, specialization, spreading of development costs, simultaneous consumption, network effects, and learning by doing, and global competition. So the global competitiveness ranking is highest for Switzerland, second highest for Singapore, it's third highest for the United States. Canada's 15th. So this is based on innovativeness, effective transfer of technology among sectors, efficiency of the financial system, rates of investment, and degree of integration with the rest of the world. So I'm going to put everybody into breakout rooms to ask them why you think Canada is so low. Like, yeah, like I want to know why Canada is so low. Like, is it innovativeness? Is it effective transfer of technology among sectors, efficiency of financial system, rates of investment, and degree of integration with the rest of the world? So I'm going to put everyone in breakout rooms to solve this issue. So. Okay, so we'll wait until everyone's back in, and then I'll try to get people to volunteer. So did anyone figure out like do you have any ideas of why Canada is 15th and not first in global competitiveness? Is it innovativeness, transfer technology, efficiency of financial system, rates of investment, degree of integration with the rest of the world? Yeah, size of the country versus population. Yeah, that might be a good one. Um, they're not efficiently using all resources. That's good. And space, efficiency of the financial systems. Oh, so you think that so Addison, do you think the Canadian banking system is inefficient? Oh yeah, that's probably a good one. Yeah, like higher taxes. I know. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, higher taxes would hurt the efficiency of the banking system. That's good. Then not enough investing in innovation. That's a good one because I there's an underinvestment in it. Oh, it was good at reasoning, Addison. The taxes would affect financial system efficiency. That's a good reason. And then Matt, tech is as innovative as other countries. That's good. Like the U.S. beats us in tech for sure. Like Tesla, Google, Amazon, like all these companies are beating us, right? Then strict regulations. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, all good reasons. Yeah. Like it's a very good discussion because yeah, we lack competitiveness. We really do. A lot like what a lot of what happens is there's the brain drain where a lot of highly skilled people from Canadian colleges and universities go to leave Canada for work because they can't find jobs here. So our competitiveness gets drained because they go to other countries to use their skill set. If they stayed here, our economy would be a lot more competitive. But they can't find jobs here, right? So that's that's good. And then implications of economic growth, stronger productivity growth, heightened global competition. So the anti-growth view is a good one. It's a good thing to think about. Industrialization and growth result in population pollution, global warming, and other environmental problems. That's a very important part, but you can kind of go around that through renewable energy. That's the solution. Uh, Solves the problem and grows the economy. So yeah, like it does both. And then no evidence that economic growth has solved sociological problems such as poverty, homelessness, and discrimination. That can be curbed once we focus on GDP, real GDP per capita. Because if we focus on real GDP per capita growth, encouragement will raise standard of living and eliminate poverty and homelessness and discrimination. So yeah, I think the main solutions to this are renewable energy and real GDP per capita. So like promoting renewable energy and raising real GDP per capita. I think those are the solutions to the anti-growth view. And then growth is needed because we have better living standards, more stuff, reduced pollution. We do have reduced pollution with growth when there's renewable energy. And then we're being more efficient with our resources when there's growth because we're allocating them effectively. So yeah, like so this is so yeah, it's very important. Like my main message here is focus on real GDP per capita. That's the most important measure of of how the economy is doing. Don't look at GDP or real GDP. Look at real GDP per capita because you got to look at the individual. That's the most important thing about looking at how economy is doing. If real GDP per capita is high, then the economy is doing well. If it's low, the economy is not doing well. That's what I've been taught over the years. The As you get farther in economics, they'll talk more, stating that that's the most important measure of real GDP per capita. When you start introducing to economics, they just look at GDP and thinking like it's good if GDP rises, everything's good. But per capita is really where it's at. So we went through a lot of this. Yeah, pretty much all of it. So we're going to do. So which one do you want to do? Cafe? Okay, cool. I don't think we've done that before. That's great. Good job. Yeah, good recommendation. Um, yeah, we'll do this one. they don't change spending on services, food, and clothing. So those are big ones. So here, an employed person is someone who worked full-time or part-time during the past week. An unemployed person is someone who did not work during the past week, but who has had actively sought work in the previous 4 weeks and was available for work. The problem with unemployment, with unemployed people, is they don't count people without a job who have given up searching for work. So they don't count those people, which is a problem. They need to count those people. Also, they count underemployed people, e.g., a medical doctor working in something in non-medicine as employed. So that's a problem, because like people are not using their skill set, and they're still like they can't get jobs in where they want to get jobs. Like a medical doctor wants to work in medicine, usually. They're not counting them as unemployed, even though it's a problem because they're not working in the field that they should be working in, right? So like those are some criticisms of the unemployment rate. So then, so exactly, part-time employment Statistics Canada doesn't differentiate between full-time and part-time workers. They should, because somebody who's working part-time might want to work full-time, and they should count them, like count the people that want to work full-time. Also, you have discouraged workers. They don't count them in the unemployed people, because and that's a problem, because they should be counted, but they're not counted because they gave up looking for work. So frictional unemployment is people between jobs, so they want to get a better job. That's why they're unemployed. So they might have quit their current job because they want to get a better job. So they quit their current job to get a better job, and that's why they're unemployed. Structural unemployment, they're unemployed because technology replaced their jobs. So like automated cashiers is one example. These cashiers lose their job because of automation. Cyclical unemployment, they a recession causes their jobs to be lost. And then seasonal unemployment, let's say landscaper can't work because it's winter, so they're unemployed from landscaping. So that's seasonal unemployment. So here this would be recession leading to job loss is cyclical. Seasonal, so landscaper can't work in winter. Seasonal, yeah. And then the natural rate of unemployment is not zero unemployment. It means so the cyclical unemployment is zero, but there is still frictional and structural unemployment. So unemployment rates equals cyclical unemployment plus frictional unemployment plus structural unemployment. And structural unemployment is unemployment due to technology taking over jobs. So in this case, a negative GDP gap would cause higher unemployment. So if you see this, you see this spike in unemployment rate. So like a negative GDP gap causes an increase in the unemployment. And then positive GDP gap causes reduction in unemployment rate. Yeah. So that's the relationship. So negative GDP gap causes an increase in unemployment rate, positive GDP gap causes a reduction in unemployment rate. So this is a good graph because you see the trends, like unemployment rate goes down like this, and then GDP gap is positive. Yeah. So yeah, like positive GDP gap, reduction in unemployment rates, negative GDP gap, increase in unemployment rate. So workers in lower skilled occupations have higher unemployment rates than those in higher skilled occupations. So like people that so yeah, they're more replaceable when they don't have a lot of skills, right? But if they have a lot of skills, they're less replaceable because higher skilled people are rare. Yeah. So like doctors would have a lower unemployment rate. So like for example, like doctors would have a low unemployment rates, while like clerical would have a high unemployment rate. Yeah. So that's yeah. And then more unemployment for less educated workers. So they're more replaceable. So like less educated workers are more replaceable. And then, so it's important to be employed because when you're employed, there's less poverty, there's less like racism and ethnic tensions, and then there's less addiction and less mental health problems when people are employed. So like it's really important for people to be employed because less addictions, less mental health problems, less tensions in the community, less crime. Yeah. So this is a good table. It's good on showing where. So like a lot of this has to do. So here, the reasons why these unemployment rates are so high for these areas is because of their economies. Their economies are not diversified. So like they aren't. So oil is Alberta's, and then these are fisheries. So when fisheries and oil have a bad time, these economies do poorly because they are mostly focused on fisheries and oil. That's why the unemployment rates are high. But for Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, so like Quebec, on Manitoba, they're diversified. So like their unemployment rates are low. Their unemployment rates are low because they didn't go all in on one industry. So that's a big problem when they go all in on one history. So in this chart, the unemployment rates in these nations, it's highest. So this is 2014. The reason why it's highest in these in Italy, France, Germany, European countries is because they were going through a debt crisis. That's why. They're not going through that much anymore. So inflation is the rise in price level. So it reduces the purchasing power of money. Consumer price index measures the prices of fixed market basket of goods. So yeah, like for example, like if say like you're buying peaches and apples, price of a peach in 2002 is $1. Price of apple in 2002 is $1. And then like so price of peach in 2005 is $3. Price of apple in 2005 is $2, let's say. There's 3 apples, so 3 peaches and 3 apples. So what you have to do in that case is so 2005 goes on top, so we'll do 3 times 3 plus, so 3 peaches for $3, 3 apples for $2. That's 2005 on top, and then 2002 will be on the bottom. So 3 peaches for $1 and 3 apples for $1, and then times 100. So we were roughly 250 CPI. Yeah. So that's how you get the CPI. So I'm going to ask the class. CPI was 130.4 in June 2017, up from 129.1 in June 2016. How would you get the inflation rate using this formula? So how you would do that is yeah, it's about 1%. So thanks for participating, everybody. So it would be you do 130.4 minus 129.1 divided by 129.1 times 100%. So good job, everybody. So show you what happened here. So inflation used to be really high. Yeah, it used to be around here. So what happened was so it used to be very high, but then what happened was Brian Mulroney, he came into office as prime minister around, like, this was like his reign as prime minister, like about this. So what happened was like Brian Mulroney instructed the Bank of Canada to raise interest rates to reduce the money supply. And this would most likely reduce inflation. He was right. Inflation dropped massively. Like you see this drop here. This is as a result of this massive drop is a result of higher interest rates, reducing the money supply. So they needed to do this because inflation needs to be predictable. So like inflation needs to be low and stable and predictable for an economy to do well. So he was successful in doing that. However, around here, like near the end of his prime ministership, so what happened was the economy, when you raise interest rates, it is harder to borrow money. So businesses cannot borrow money as easily to grow and hire people, and people cannot borrow money as easily for mortgages. So the economy goes into recession. That's what happened, and that anger led to Jacques Chrétien becoming prime minister, beating beating the PCs. So like this is the best example of what happens with higher interest rates. Like this is a good example to study about how higher interest rates change an economy. Because this is exactly what happens. Like this is the best example I could think of what happens when higher interest rates come into place. Yeah. So yeah, this is a good good example. Yeah. Great chart, because after Brian Mulroney left office, inflation has not been high in Canada until now. Yeah. It's high now because of a lot of the COVID relief policies and low interest rates. So here, inflation rates in these countries, Canada, Italy, Germany, US, they're pretty similar. Like they go up at the same rate because they have like all these places like Canada, US, Italy, Germany, they have a lot of the same economists running their money supply and interest rates. So that's why they kind of want to have similar inflation, because they know that low and stable inflation is good for their economy. So they're all focused on that. Japan follows a similar trajectory, but their inflation rate is about 2% lower on average. So they definitely have a different view of monetary policy back out there. Yeah, like so deflation here. So like inflation is best when low and stable. This is good for the economy. Yeah, but so like Japan has some deflation. So about here, this is deflation. So yeah, it's not good for the economy, it's bad. They want to avoid deflation as possible. Deflation is negative inflation. So deflation is negative inflation. So prices go down. Not a good thing. So like that's probably one of the reasons why the Japan economy is not great right now. Yeah. So yeah, CPI, sometimes they take out energy prices and food prices. I wouldn't take out energy prices because they drive a lot of our expenses. Like gas is like 160 now, and you need to keep that in because that's a massive expense. And leaving it out is not, it's not good. It's not a good thing. And this nominal income, so real income equals nominal income to the price index. So good. So this is basically, it's like what you can buy with your paycheck. So like the amount of stuff you can buy. Yeah. So yeah, fixed income receivers are hurt by inflation because their income's not going to go up. So like, let's say they're making $40,000 a year, and in year one, their expenses are 20,000, right? So they're like, right? So then year two, their fixed income, so their income doesn't go up, right? Fixed income, their income doesn't go up, it just stays the same. And then year two, their expenses are 30,000 because of inflation. They will only save 10,000 in year two compared to 20,000. So yeah, that hurt. Like when they have a fixed income, they're really hurt by inflation. And then accumulated savings deteriorates. So that's a big thing. That's why you got to invest. Because inflation eats away at the value of a dollar. Like I'm a huge critic of money. Like I'm a huge critic of dollars. Like I'm a super crypto person. I have a blog I write all about crypto on and investments mostly. I'm gonna send you the link. So yeah, it's so I talk about crypto because I think like crypto protects against inflation because it goes up so much in value that the gains you get from crypto, investing in crypto, it's a good way to avoid inflation eating away at your money. But the problem with dollars is that inflation eats away at value so much. Like if you had a dollar 100 years ago, it'd be worthless now because of inflation. If you had a dollar in 1922, the value of it today would be nothing because of inflation. And then lenders get paid back in cheaper dollars because let's say you're getting paid 7% in on let's say you make 7% on the loan you gave to your friends. Inflation was 2% during that period. Your real return is 5%. Because inflation ate away 2% from the 7%. Yeah, so that's what happens. Yeah. So inflation is terrible on the dollar. So yeah. Yeah, deflation is decreasing the price level. You don't want that. You don't want negative inflation. Hyperinflation is extraordinarily rapid inflation. It devastates an economy. Businesses don't know what to charge. Consumers don't know what to pay. Money becomes worthless. Zimbabwe's 14.9 billion percent inflation in 2008 as an example. So I think we'll close it out for today. Does anyone else have any questions for today? Yeah, term test is next week. Yeah, it'll be the second hour of the class, and also if you need extra time, I'll give you into midnight. Or if you're in the hospital or if you're sick, like I'll give you as much time as you need, because like that happens. Yeah, like I did. I posted the test review on the site. Uh, yeah, it's on course documents on Blackboard. Um, then investment option, crypto stocks. I'd say stocks. I'm just gonna send you. I'd say stocks because, but like, it depends on what you're more comfortable with. I'm just gonna send you my. I'm gonna send you one of the articles I wrote about stocks. Yeah, this yeah, here's my, and then my blog is mostly focused on investment. So I'm just gonna send you this. Yeah. And if anyone wants to write for the blog, like I'll post anything you write and give you credit. Like I'll give you credit, and yeah, it's all multiple choice. Yeah. But yeah, I read a lot about crypto and investing. So like I'm a big fan of crypto because it's decentralized, and it's not vulnerable to politicians, like corrupt politicians manipulating the currency. There's no politician manipulating crypto, so like it's good because a lot of politicians are corrupt. That's the reason. So I really am a big fan of crypto. But yeah, my blog is there. If you have any questions about like any of it, we can talk. If you want to write stuff for it, like we can. Sounds good. Yeah, it's a lot of investing stuff. Yeah. Um, but yeah, does anyone else have any questions for tonight? Yeah, I'll give everyone till midnight. Yeah, because just yeah, I'll do that. Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, I'll close it out. Great job, everybody. Thanks for all the participation. Great class. Yeah, great job, everybody. Everybody did a great job. Yeah, great participation. Excellent. Thanks for staying to the end. Appreciate all your work. Excellent job. Yeah, and see ya. Just email me if you have any questions, and see you next week. Bye, everybody.